And we are recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 156 of CONSERVATISH. My name is Peter Feliciano. Find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano. Find me on TikTok at CONSERVATISH. You can find me on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter, kind of, at Rules62Peter, I believe. That's how rarely I am on there. You can support this podcast and my music at patreon.com/conservatish. And you can find my music everywhere music is available. It's actually, my album is going to be 1 year old in 3 days. So go check that out. I'm amazing. And yeah, it is my pleasure to welcome and invite our guest, Ada.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. I said
You
it
said
right.
it right. Yeah. Miracle. We started well.
Yeah.
I'm sure this will end well.
Right. It only took me like 14 practices to get it, to make sure I got it right.
Okay.
So do you have anything to promote before we start?
Well, my page.
Sure. What's
But
your?
I don't really want to promote it like that. I can just tag it or whatever. It's fine.
Sounds good.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I wanted to have you on. The main reason why I started the podcast was so that I could humanize everybody, but especially conservatives or people who are conservatish, people who hold, like one of the taglines of the show is like, can't I like gay people and guns? Why do I have to choose a side? And it's really interesting to me, especially because of how strong the liberals have really leaned into identity politics to showcase voices that don't fall in line with the regular tropes. And so I really appreciate, I saw your page and I was like, I gotta have this lady on. She's smart. And you're also understanding, which I really liked, because I think one of the first videos I saw of yours, you were talking to your friends and family and you said, listen, I know I might be making you guys uncomfortable with some of the things. You don't have to follow, you don't have to like, you don't have to even watch, but this is just something I'm doing for myself. And I thought that's a really mature approach to it. And so, instead of, because there's a lot of people I know both on the liberal and the conservative side who are, if you don't like my page, and in a way that is helpful sometimes. But with friends and family.
I mean, I am like that sometimes. No, I'm learning. I'm growing and I'm learning.
That's good. Yeah, there's a lot of people I know who I love dearly, who I disagree with. And that's the whole reason I made this shirt, is like, who I disagree with strongly about politics. And I think if we let ourselves be disconnected for something as trivial as who we voted for, I think it's a mistake, to assume that if someone voted for someone, they have bad intentions, or they are racist, or they are sexist, or they are is pretty offensive to me. And so, I really appreciated that approach. What is your experience recently? You've started to change things over from the way you used to believe and the way if you don't mind taking us through that a little bit.
Yes, I mean, I've always had the same view, but I just didn't know how to kind of make it concrete. So, like I said in some of my videos, I wasn't born in the UK. I'm speaking to you from the UK, as you know. I wasn't born here, I was born in Nigeria. And I came here quite young-ish, so I came here at 10. And I've always been, maybe it's because I'm the oldest, but I've always been that kind of independent-y kind of girl, And when I came here, I've seen white people for the first time. I didn't see white people in Nigeria kind of thing. But there was just a lot of noise. Obviously, when I was young, so it was more subtle. Yes, I'd experienced sort of, let's say, racism or bullying at school, let's say, because I was different, I was dark, I was all these things. But that didn't bother me as such as when I started to get a bit older and I would have conversations with Black people telling me sort of how difficult it is, or older Black people telling me how difficult their life is just because they are Black. So I was like, okay, like, I started to sort of be confused and wonder, well, why am I in this country then? Why did I leave my homeland, which we were okay. I know people have a bad impression or wrong impression of Africa, but we were living really well. So I was like, why would I leave there? Why did my sort of parents bring me to this country if it's so difficult for Black people? But then I excelled at school. I went to college. I excelled at college. I went to university. I did well at university. Jobs that I applied for, I got. So I started to question, well, what exactly is hard for me, or what is supposed to be hard for me because I was Black? So then the questions and the debates started happening with family and friends of, yeah, it was this systematic oppression. And these things I'd been hearing, I'm sure everyone has, for years, you know, but it just never sat right with my life and my own personal experiences. Yes, I've faced name calling, but I've also called people names, you know, when you're in school, and it's never been one-sided. So I just completely disagreed with that notion that I was meant to suffer or I was meant to have less because I was Black. But obviously I wasn't as outspoken, just random conversations. And then this thing with, well, before that, I don't know if you know the royal family here. You know the royal family? The
Yes,
Queen.
yes, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I mean, I do look dumb, so I understand, but no, I'm. Okay,
Yeah, so
what about her? Or what about the family?
yeah, so obviously her grandson, he's obviously white, and he married a mixed race woman, a
Right.
Black and white woman called Meghan Markle. She's an actress, whatever. And then she received a lot of, you know, hate, I guess, from the British media, I think the American media as well. And then I started seeing headlines like Britain is racist and all these things. And it was like, here we go again with all this overgeneralization, sensational, you know, reporting like Britain is racist. And I'm like, well, then I put a status on my Facebook of, well, if Britain is racist, why would they allow her to marry into the highest sort of most respected family in their country? And I got a lot of hate and a lot of backlash and the usual, oh, you don't know anything about our struggle. And I was like, I wouldn't mind being in her position, to be honest, if that's the struggle she's receiving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, skip that. George Floyd happened. And obviously everyone saw the video and it was like, wow, this is disgusting. But I didn't see it from a Black man is being, you know, I didn't see, I just saw a man, rightly or wrongly, he died in a horrific way. And then I even put a status up like RIP George Floyd. And then all these things started coming up of the black and white thing again. And I was like, you know what? I've had enough. Now is my time to speak about this, full stop. And that's when I started my voice, really. It started off with just little rants on Facebook of, you know, we need to stop all this riots, we're hurting our own businesses. And obviously I got so much hate. And it just took me back to all those conversations I was having individually with family and friends. And I think just something was born in me of, I'm not going to stop speaking now. And that's when Different Voice was born.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I really like that. I really like that. Quick clarifying question. So I had, when I had started this, I have certainly had a number of people of all races, you know, so I had done music for years before I came out. I'm half Puerto Rican, a little bit, half Puerto Rican, mostly on the other side is German, English, and some Black, and a small amount of Black. But most of the time I had certainly gotten, you know, when I had come out as like, hey, I'm going to start this podcast, and people are excited, and then they see the name, you know, and they're like, oh my God, oh no, does that mean he's blah, blah, blah? And I always emphasized it's conservatish, you know, because everybody's definition of what that's supposed to look like, of what conservative or liberal or leftist or rightist or whatever is supposed to look at, changes from person to person. We are very complicated people, and these are very complicated, nuanced issues. But over my 2 years of having this show, the only people who have really called me a Nazi are white people. And I'm,
okay,
you know what I mean? Like it's bothered me so much. The only people who have really cut me out of their life, besides like one or two, I know one Black lady blocked me, another, you know, a couple of others have like said some comments or whatever, but on the whole, it's been mostly white people calling me, a half Puerto Rican person, a Nazi or a racist or a, you know, whatever. I guess, what was your experience when you faced most of the black or backlash that you have faced? Has it been from black people or has it been from whites?
It's just been black. I mean, it's been whites in the sense of when I've sort of, maybe they've put something up and I've sort of said, well, actually there's another side to that story. I know you're trying to, you know, sympathize or whatever with black people, but it's not actually helping right now. For example, there was one recently where she was saying, I think she reposted a picture from a black guy saying, well, they've looted from us for 400 years, so it's okay to loot. So I kind of called her out on it, saying, I understand, but it's us that we're still hurting by this, you know? So in that sense, yeah, I get backlash. But when I'm giving my own opinions, it's just black people. It's just black people. And I think the comment I hate the most, that I get the most, is, well, maybe you've not experienced racism for you to be saying people should be accountable for themselves. And I'm like, how dare you? I have.
Yeah.
I actually have. I've experienced everything that every other black person, I guess, have experienced. But that cannot be the definer of whether I'm successful or not. It's like any other problem in life. And I think that's the difference between conservatives and non-conservatives. I see racism as any other issue I have to wake up in the morning and battle in my life, right? From the smallest things, such as being too tired to go to work, to big outright, you know, discrimination. It's just a battle or a hurdle or a barrier that I need to overcome. But the problem with some of these liberals like you guys have in America, which we don't have liberals here as such, it's just conservative or, gosh, yeah, I'm going to seem silly now. I don't know.
Party, the more, isn't
Labour. Yeah, so it's conservative or Labour. So that's the difference. I think they see and pinpoint that as, this is the issue, so I can never do anything or go anywhere because everything and everyone is against me, which is not true.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah, it is conservative and Labor over there. I think the majority of it is, from what I've seen, is people being incorrectly kind of trained. You know what I mean? I think the majority of that is from. Have you ever heard of Larry Elder?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I'm learning so much, like, since I've started speaking, I guess, like, I've just been introduced, which I'll talk about a little bit as well, the journey of kind of being free, I guess. But I'm learning a lot about all these new people.
Yeah. Larry Elder talks about his experience being growing up, you know, poor, growing up near other people who were poor, being close friends with a guy who was incredible at sports, but was also had a real sour personality and would rub it in people's faces when he beat them at football or whatever. And because of that sour personality, he wasn't successful in sports. Coaches would come to scout him for possible, you know, joining their team. And they would ask their, you know, his coach, what do you think of this guy? He's like, well, he's amazing on the field, but he's a coach killer. As he said, he would right. Literally, you know, he's not going to do what you tell him to do. He's not going to follow direction. He's not going to be a team player. He's going to grab the ball and he's going to be a sour personality. And he said, because of that, coaches wouldn't grab him and bring him onto teams. And then he turned even more sour. He became a victim, a professional victim. And he said that it's because of the white man. It's because of this. And it's like Larry always was saying, it's like, I grew up a minute from you, less than a minute from you. Why am I successful and you're not? Why was I able to go to university and you weren't? And one of the things Larry says that really split that is having a father in the home and having a strong father in the home. Even though he resented his father, he tells a story about, even though obviously there's interpersonal relationships, especially in the family, especially with a father in the 60s and the 70s who had to face all of that stuff and had to work and had to sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, that relationship was a pain. He still had structure. He still had a good example of hard work and a hard work ethic and not being a victim because his father knew that. And so I think that's part of the big switch, but it's really delicious. It's really attractive to imagine that the reason I'm not successful is because people have done something bad to me. That's an attractive thing because I don't have to do incremental changes to myself or slow work or hard work for a long time. I can just press this button that says I'm a victim, and I can sit back and feel sorry for myself and think about myself.
I completely agree. And I link these issues, these external issues, to personal issues as well that we go through.
Right.
And I made a video or a post about this as well on my Instagram, but I had a cycle of very destructive behavior. I was, when you're younger, you have many youths, especially now, it's getting worse, but because of traumas or things that they faced in their childhood, they become very self-destructive, whether that's through alcohol, whatever, and drugs, whatever. And they blame it not on their current situation, but on things that have happened to them in the past. Right. So like many people, we've had things that we've had to deal with in our past, be it bad relationship, crazy relationships, crazy childhoods, whatever. And personally, I just, reached a moment where it was like, I'm actually harming myself more than the people I think harmed me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just became a thing of how long will I keep saying, well, I'm a difficult person, deal with it because this is how I grew up or whatever. Right. And I feel that's what sometimes the Black people do. Well, this is how it is. This is why I can't do this. I can't do that, which is not true. Because there are other Black people who are successful, who are doing much better than white people. Just going off topic, I have family members and friends who are bankers, who are doctors, who are in law, high positions, talking to me about oppression. And I'm thinking, you are earning way better. You are in much better conditions than many white people I know. I work in a restaurant and I'm a supervisor there, and a Black man from the Caribbean, he just never met him in my life, older guy. And he just came up to me saying, look, make sure they don't treat you like anything in there. Don't be the slave. And I'm thinking, my skin is black. I'm actually the one sort of organizing and telling them what to do, but okay, just assume that. It's like, do you understand what I mean? It's just a lot of these random, undocumented things that people just throw around because that's all they've been throwing it around. That's all they've known. So it's like exactly what you've said. It's easier just to retract back to that and push that button and say, okay, yeah, this is why things are the way they are, Yeah.
So what was your experience? You said I wanted to hear about your experience kind of transitioning.
Yeah, I mean, so in that, when I posted that sort of condemning the riots and I just got basically crucified on Facebook by friends and family, I was really going into a very confusing kind of, I would almost say dark hole. I know it sounds dramatic, but hear me out. It was like I was just so sick and tired because I didn't know any other voices. I didn't know people thought like me. I really didn't. And I kept saying the same thing for everything time something like this happens, and I would just get crucified. So I was like, there has to be something wrong with me, because how come I never side with the Black people? How come I'm always on the side of, well, it's over the top or it's over exaggerated? And then my cousin, she sent me a message. She just said one line that was really a godsend. She just said, oh, research Candace Owens. And I've never heard of this woman before in my whole life. I know people have opinions about her, but I just watched a few things and I was like, and then that led me to another voice and another person and another person. I was like, oh my God. Like I nearly cried. I was like, oh my God, because I was about to give up. I was about to submit to that victim mentality and say, you know what, it has to be me. I must be crazy. And then I said, nope, there are actually hundreds of people like me. And that's even what gave me more ammo to speak, you know? So it's just refreshing. And I think I'm not the only one. I think obviously what's going on now in this world with this Black Lives Matter thing, and it's crazy and it's wrong. I think that's my own opinion. I think it's wrong. And I think it was created for political reasons, which makes it wrong. But I think on the other side, it's freed a lot of Black people because it's made us actually step back and research more and question, which we weren't really doing before. We were just having opinions, but now there's almost like a split now, a divide of, no, we're not going to talk about slavery no more. Sorry. Yes, it's horrible, it's wrong, but we're not going to be talking about that no more. We're not going to be talking about us being hunted down, because that's absolutely not true.
Yeah.
In London, when there was an epidemic of knife crime, it was actually whites as well, I know, but many Black boys just randomly hurting each other. Wasn't the police hurting them? I mean, here the police don't have guns anyway, so we don't have sort of that issue of police shooting criminals. But there was a lot of gang violence, you know, so we're not going to be talking about being hunted down by white people, because that is not true, right? We're not going to be talking about we're not getting jobs because we are Black, because that is not true. We need to, and I think now that our voices are being elevated, this is actually the hope for the Black people, right? This is the real hope that we need. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I was looking it up this morning, and in 2016, Trump won with 8% of the Black vote. And Rasmussen recently released a poll that Black approval for Trump is 45%. And the liberals have, for the last few months, have been saying, elevate Black voices, elevate. You know, I've been ranting about it, but you know, a number of white stars, especially, will say, like, just listen to Black people. And I always say, like, which ones? Which ones? Which, we're supposed to elevate Black voices. Which Black voices? Especially because now is 45% approval for Trump from Black people. Are we going to elevate that? No, only the majority. That's insane. That's insane. Not just that. Not just that. You made a great point regarding the George Floyd thing. If we really look at it, tragedy happens for all these people. You know, tragedy happens for all these people. One of the things, I had a great conversation with a guy named Alex, a Black man from Detroit, has been shot at multiple times because he lives in a really bad neighborhood and has lived in really bad neighborhoods in Detroit. And Detroit is one giant Black, or bad neighborhood, with Black neighborhood too. But yeah, but what happened, in spite of Eminem coming from there, and what he was talking about is how what we had in that conversation was how when I saw George Floyd be killed, the way I saw it, same thing as you. I thought a cop being abusive, a cop wanting to punish and be hurtful. Now, George was high. George was refusing. George was breaking the law. George was not a great guy. Obviously doesn't mean he should be killed.
No,
I don't personally believe that Derek Chauvin, the cop who kneeled on his neck, wanted to kill George. I think he wanted to abuse him. I think he wanted to hurt him. I think he was being a jerk. But I don't think that, he literally, Derek Chauvin knew he was being videoed by multiple people. Do you really think someone is that daft that they would intentionally kill somebody in front of cameras thinking I can get away with it? No.
Of course.
He wanted to be hurtful, and that's not good. But at the same time, like lynching is what they were calling it, hunting, like you were saying. That implies intent. That implies intent. And damn it, I don't see intent there. You know what I mean? I just don't. And same thing with Jacob Blake. A few
Yeah.
weeks ago, Jacob Blake had sexually assaulted this woman multiple times. A former partner of his, anyway, had sexually assaulted this woman multiple times, came back and snuck into her home again against court's orders, and stole her keys, had kids in the car, had fought with the cops. They had tased him twice, and yet he still had bucked them off of him, and then he was reaching into his car. My question for the liberals: what's your idea? Because he shouldn't have been shot 7 times in the back. Number one, he sexually assaulted a woman, and you guys are always talking about how women's rights. He sexually assaulted a woman multiple times and then showed up at her house and stole her keys. Okay, the cops knew that going in. Anyway, what's the liberals' idea? Oh, just try a taser a 3rd time. Shut up.
Didn't work.
How about instead of 5 cops, they send 7 cops? Shut up. You know, it's just insane to me.
It's like, I don't sympathize with criminals, and I know that sounds harsh, but there were so many pictures going around with him and his 4 kids looking so amazing. All right. And then someone told me when I was talking about it and how I don't big them up or sympathize with them, obviously she started calling me a lot of names and saying how insensitive I am because I couldn't see that his kids were traumatized by the event. And I said he was the one responsible for traumatizing his children in the first place. He didn't give a damn about his children, because if he really did, he would do everything in his power. He will forget his ego, his pride, whatever, being made to look like a fool, because I know men have this thing of not, so let me not go there, right? Let me not talk about men. But I know men,
it's there.
Men have this thing, men have, like you said, he sexually assaulted someone, so there's women there. He doesn't want to look like a punk, like you Americans say, But if he was a really good father, he would have done every single thing in his power to make sure that his children wouldn't witness or be part of a violent altercation. Just by him not complying, just by him fighting back 1 inch, put his kids in that traumatic, dangerous situation. So it's not the police that are to be blamed, because this is what the kids are going to grow up with now. Oh, the police shot my dad, the police hate Black people, but it started from the home. The issue was from the home. And I think there is no focus, like you said, about the parents, having both parents. There's no focus on family anymore. Kids, like we say here, I don't know if you say it there, but kids are just having kids with no training or no direction, no sort of support, real support, not government support, family, community support. There's none of that anymore. So they're just growing up completely reckless and messed up and just repeating the same things to themselves. Oh, I'm a young mother because of the system. I have no job. I can't take care of my kids because of the system. So everything's just a system. But what about your home? What did you learn? Like me, I have my mom and dad. I'm grateful for that. I have both my parents still alive. And they never taught me or mentioned 1 time about the system. I'm not saying this to make a point. They never mentioned 1 time about the system. I'm African. I know it's more an African thing. I'm seeing a lot of videos now about it's not a culture thing. Sorry, it's not a racism thing or a color thing. It's a culture thing. So maybe it is that, because many of us, we come here and it's like we've already left a crazy system. There's no time to talk about how this system is. Just put your head down, work at it, and you will make it, So I don't sympathize with people who always have an excuse for not making it or for not being successful. They don't listen to my voice or our voice. They always want to listen to the people who are saying how difficult and how hard it is, which is not true,
Another point you said, someone commented, they've been they've been looting from us for 400 years, right? That's what they said. Who's they? Who's they? I'm 46% German and English. Should I give 45% reparations? Where's the line? What about the fact that my family, my German family, didn't come here until the late 1800s after slavery had already been, okay, so maybe there's a percentage. Maybe I don't pay the reparations of slavery. Maybe I just pay the Jim Crow reparations. Oh, okay, but my family, my German family was in Pennsylvania. There weren't Jim Crow laws in Pennsylvania. Okay, so, or I think that's almost, I'm pretty sure that's true. I might be lying. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it certainly wasn't anywhere near the South. So, so what percentage, if we're talking they, I don't apply it to that. And not just that, but there are many Black men and women. I know one was I tell this story all the time, but there was a Black former police chief who was trying in the riots after George Floyd, who was trying to help his friend, a retired police chief, a Black man, was trying to help his friend protect his store, and was killed.
Is that David Dawn?
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, that story still haunts me, honestly. Yeah.
And there's not one word. There's not one word. That Black life lost. That Black life lost.
Because upstanding citizens don't care to them. This is what I'm saying. It's about defending Black criminals, and before we talk about this, when people talk about reparations, Peter, my most, let's say, controversial statement is, how much are the Africans going to give?
Yes. That's a great point. Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it put that way, because I've said that before, whatever, but that's a beautiful way to put that.
It's just like, without going too deep into it, you don't need to even read books and history, and just to when you just pause and think, like they said, these millions and millions of slaves were taken. Look how Black people are acting now. Look how strong. Let me not use the word aggressive. Look how much strength they are exhibiting. Are we that weak, or were we that weak before, that we just let millions of our people just go like that? Are we really that weak, looking at how we are today? I don't think so. So Africa is not innocent, no matter what they want to say, no matter what they want to think. It's touchy for them to dive into this subject, that's their problem. Africa is not innocent. And I think the day they start to realize that is the day they will start to change their lives,
Right. I also want to really accentuate the fact that I don't like it when anyone feels alone. I just don't. It bothers me. My big push is always more. I mean, I do research, but I'm not a numbers guy. I've had a couple of people on the show who I love to death, who are numbers people, and I have to kind of, not have to, but I ham it up, my personality wise, because I'm much more culture focused. They're like, yes. Well, says, blah 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 blah. But on a humanist angle, I don't want anyone to feel alone. And damn it, if we were in the 70s and the 80s, even in the early 90s, and you had people feeling alone, Black people feeling alone because they were actually oppressed, I would feel the same way for them. But now, I feel that way for conservatives, for people who feel alone because of what they believe. I'm a part of this spiritual group, and who are recovered alcoholics, let's say, and thank you. Yeah, 18 years sober myself. So I know I know what it means to be self-destructive. And in this group, recently I was in one of these groups, and this man, Filipino man, after George Floyd passed away, started ranting about about this, we're not really supposed to in this spiritual group talk about outside issues. We're supposed to just talk about like, recovery and help each other and talk about personal things. And you can, maybe talk in a vague way about how a certain event made you feel. But this guy was crying and he's like, I feel scared. I feel powerless. I feel angry. And, you white people need to really step up. What time,
Wow.
And I'm like,
wow.
It was pretty disgusting. It was pretty gross. And I was and I shared, after this person, I talked about how, and I didn't mention his name. I didn't, whatever, but I talked about how we're not really supposed to do that here, and how my personal relationship with my recovery, with my getting better, has been focused on what my part is, right? And how I do have a vote and I do have a say and I can march and I whatever, but how I need to put others ahead of myself, right? It's a practice, it's a long haul, but if I'm gonna want to get better, I have to look for service and I have to be mature about boundaries and how this isn't the place to do that, right?
Exactly.
And I got secret messages from white people saying thank you. Because they, even though they may be very liberal, they also disagreed with this person. They felt attacked. They felt ready to leave the meeting. They felt scared. They felt angry. They felt all these things, and they felt that they could not speak it. They could not share that. They could not tell this person, hey, that's not okay to do here. And they felt that way because of their chemical makeup. They felt that way because of their race. And that is sad to me. And that is
yeah.
The fact that I could get away with it because my dad is Puerto Rican is horrendous. The fact that I get to have a vote because my dad is Puerto Rican is horrendous. No one should feel that they don't get to have a say, or don't get to say what they needed, or say what's in their heart, or say that they feel scared or angry or powerless. That is disgusting. That is disgusting.
I completely agree. It's like an attack on freedom of speech, because I have, and I say this to all my friends and my family, I have views, not even just in relation to the movement, just everyone has personal views, but as long as your views don't physically, mentally, or even emotionally damage me in some way, you can have your views. And I will give an example. I don't think I've talked about this on any of my videos, but it's like, I'm a Christian woman, and I used to teach English. And one of my students was a gay man from Israel, right? And out of the blue, he was actually one of my favorite students, because he was the only one that we would actually discuss religion, even though it's not my usual practice. But he's so intelligent, he knows about history. I loved talking to him, and I always looked forward to our lessons. And then one day I had to cancel the lesson because something else came up, like I do sometimes. And he must have sent me this long ass message of how he knew that I was homophobic all along, how I really hate gay people, and how I was pretending and all these things. And that really annoyed me. Like, it's like, how dare you guess my values and my principles just because I'm a part of a group, just because I'm a Christian. Then you think just because I cancelled on you, something negative has happened to you from me, you twist it, you spin it, and it becomes this whole label. And that's the same with Black people. And that's why they struggle, because they can't relate, let's say, to white people in a negative way. Otherwise, it's racism. It's automatically racism. It's not to do with any other thing apart from racism. So with that guy, it's like the other white people are thinking, well, I have no say. Obviously me, I'm quite outspoken anyway. So I told the guy about himself, like, you're absolutely, that's just how I am, thankfully.
Yeah.
But some people don't feel that. They will take that. And then even, which is what's happening to many white liberals or white people, they're making that part of their character, saying, yeah, actually, maybe I am racist.
Right.
Right? Maybe because they're not speaking, they're not fighting back. So they're accepting what people are like, that guy, you need to step up, you need to do this. If they didn't message you secretly for speaking out, then they will assume that hatred and that evil and that bad energy that's come out from that person, they will assume it from themselves, which that's a greater evil for me, I think, than not speaking. That for me is you're changing someone else's view of themselves, which was what was going to happen to me a few months ago when I was questioning my beliefs and my identity. And it does take a voice, like you were that voice for them. It did take my cousin saying, research Candace Owens. And then you see that actually, no, it's not right. And I'm not alone. And I'm actually on the right side, with all due respect. I know we shouldn't say right or wrong, but that's that.
Screw it, whatever. Yeah, I mean, listen, on my Instagram, on my Twitter, on my TikTok, and by the way, just for everyone's, just so people understand that shadow banning is a real thing. On my Instagram, I have 970 followers, and my videos average at best probably 120 views. On my TikTok, in the last 4.5, 5 months since I started my TikTok, I have almost 10,000 followers, and I've had my Instagram since 2014. On my TikTok, I have almost 10,000 followers in 4 or 5 months, and I have one video that's almost 800,000 views. So,
wow,
thanks, China.
Wow.
But anyway,
Well,
when I have comments from liberals who super disagree with me and they're genuine, when they're not labeling, I have no problem delving in if I have the time and if I have the energy and if I'm okay in my spirit. If I'm having a bad day and some weird fear stuff, I can't mess with it. I give myself like a boundary, like I'm going to take 2 hours off social media. But if I'm in a good place, I'm happy to delve into the particulars. But if someone comes in swinging, if someone's you're not that, I have no problem. You know, some liberal kid, literally white kid, wants to white-splain to me about blah, blah, blah. I have no problem going asterisk your Y-O-U-R-E because he said Y-O-U-R. I have no problem just, there you go, take that with you. Or like, thanks, Whitey. You know, I have no problem shoving it right back in their face and continue on with my day. Why am I going to jump in the muck trying to help somebody who's being vitriolic?
Exactly.
And Mike Harlow. Have you ever heard of Mike Harlow? From the skinny. He's gonna love that I called him skinny. By the way, little skinny gay kid. I love him to death. He's from the walkaway movement. Yeah, hashtag walkaway movement. It's liberals who have walked away from the Democratic Party. It's a great little organization. Brandon Strzok, Blair White, a couple of other people. A lot of it is gay and black and these other identities of people who have walked away from the Democratic Party. And they've had, I talked about it on the last show, how Mike and Brandon were kind of attacked on the street by a couple of Black Lives Matter supporters. And they had things thrown at them and spit at them and, chased. And then they had a rally in Dallas, I think it was yesterday, and they were chased down the street by about 50, getting up in their face, throwing things at them, calling them names. And these are gay people and women. These are gay people and women, the people that Black Lives Matter apparently protects, apparently stands up for, apparently says give a voice to the voiceless. They're lying. They don't.
They are.
Black Lives Matter is a disgusting organization. And it may have started with good intentions, maybe. Like you said, probably not. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It may have started with good intentions. It has gone off the rails, and the majority of Black people are turning around. Like you were saying, the majority of Black people are waking up to that. There's a wonderful little video of a Black lady. Maybe I'll share it with you from TikTok. This little Black girl who's in front of a Planned Parenthood, and she sees a sign in there that says Black Lives Matter, and she's like, "Look at the gall." I mean, she said it, with bad words. Look at the gall of these people to have Black Lives Matter when Planned Parenthood kills more Black babies than anybody else. And she's like videoing and yelling, whatever. And then she's coming up,
Wow.
and they had taken the sign out of the window, and she's like, "Oh, that's right, you took the sign out. Get the hell out of my neighborhood. We don't want this here." Black people are waking up to this
They are.
everybody's, this bull stuff, and it's actually really heartening to me. It's really heartening to me that people feel like
Mm-hmm.
they have more of a voice. But you know what? We cannot be. I know you're not going to be voting in the American election, but we cannot
Yeah.
idle with it either, because in
Yeah.
2016, polls said that Hillary was going to win. Polls said
Right.
that there was no way Donald Trump could win. And then
Mm-hmm.
one day
Mm-hmm.
completely switched over. So we can't be lazy and say, well, the polls
Mm-hmm.
are saying that, things are turning around, and literally Trump had a 52% approval rating the other day. You're going to say
Wow.
2% of the country is racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic. Come on, guys.
Right.
Guys. And it's
I
always
doubt
white.
it.
It's almost always whites for me. It's almost always whites who are like, a friend of mine the other day was like, well, those black people are just self-hating. Really? You're going to like,
Whoa.
ugh.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
But sorry to cut you, I think what all this has done is also change what people think of Trump as well. Because obviously I didn't really look in, I'm from the UK, so I didn't really look much into him. We just saw the impeachment, we saw the media, everything that they're trying to do, trying to say. So pretty much everyone here pretty much hates or hated him. But I think what's happening now is because of all this madness, and if people are paying attention, they will actually see who the real enemy is. And it's not Trump, because he's not standing behind it. I don't know if that makes sense. So even if you have a bad opinion about it, but he's not supporting this movement, he wants to create law and order. It's like, why wouldn't you want that? I just don't understand. Is this thirst for justice more important than actually civilization for these people? Some of these countries, some of these cities of yours that are burning, I'm just thinking they're going to have to start from scratch all over again. Isn't that a greater injustice to what they're seeking? When you start to ask these questions, then you think, actually, Trump is not as bad as the media was trying to make him out to be. Of course, you guys know more, you research more, but I'm just talking from our point of view, because like I said, we don't know much apart from what the BBC and CNN, whatever, the stations we can get here, what they show us. But everything that I'm seeing from you guys, from people that I'm following, from you, it's not what I'm seeing from the media. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So unless we are following you actively, it's still going to be very difficult for us to change our opinion about him. I know we have no standing in the election, but I think it's just a point to make on how people actually view him,
Right. I think you actually help a lot. And here's what like I said, culture is kind of my main, what do they say? Breitbart said, or whatever. I think culture is downstream from politics, or politics is downstream from culture. Culture is what changes it. The reason why things are changing around politically is because of culture. You know what I mean? So even though, yes, you don't vote in the election, just you speaking truthfully about yourself and your views helps our greater conversation. Just my
Mm-hmm.
podcast helps our greater conversation, because it helps humanize people who are mixed, people who are conservative,
Yeah,
people who are conservative.
yeah.
It helps Black conservatives or Black, conservatish people. It helps. I've had drag queens on the show. I've had musicians on the show. I've had comedians on the show. I've had abuse survivors on my show. I've had old men. I have an old man, and that sounds pejorative. I'm not saying it that way, but I've had a
Yeah.
89-year-old
I hope
man
he's not
talking about
watching. Who are you calling old?
I had episode 10, Bruce, who's this 89-year-old man who talks about end of life and talking about, helping old people pass away if that's what they would like to do. So all of that helps our greater conversation. The problem is algorithms have changed. You know what I mean? Like TikTok is the only one, because it's not American owned right now. That still has that same algorithm where we'll keep feeding you stuff that might get you to stay on, just like the other side. YouTube, the way it used to work, the way my mind changed it around was from 2016. I had a similar experience where after the election, I was like, you know what? I kept seeing stuff about Milo Yiannopoulos. Oh, he's the devil and he's Hitler and he's this and that. I'm like, let me just look. So I actually looked. And I was like, I don't mind that. I don't mind. He's a little over the top, but I don't mind him. And then because of the YouTube algorithm, it fed to more videos and fed to more videos and fed to more videos. Now that's changed. Now that's changed around. They don't want voices who are dissenting, and that's specifically for the white people. Again, trying to silence people. Thanks, white liberals. Big white daddy knows best, as George Carlin. You know George Carlin, the comedian. Yeah. He said, even though he was a Democratic person for most of his life, I believe, he said, you know, the white liberals believe big white daddy knows best. I'll take care of these little people don't know any better. You know what I mean? Only smart people should be allowed to vote. Only well-educated should be. Only liberal people should be allowed to have a voice. And you know what?
Imagine.
Regardless of their white nonsense, we are getting through it, and it's going to be okay. You know. We'll start wrapping up if that's okay with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I wanna talk about kind of your future vision. Like, what do you see things? Obviously, you've had this experience of changing over and being more vocal. What's your future vision?
Well, it's so funny because, like I put recently, it just started off with me just ranting and just having that freedom to rant openly, and it's like, oh, everything that I've kept inside of me for years, I can say now, and I have a reason to say it. So it started off as that, but I think just the feedback that I've been getting so far, even from close family and friends that don't admit openly, but it's things that they have actually been thinking. So I just want to inspire people, especially young boys, young Black boys. Why do I say that? Because men are, in my opinion, they are the pillar of society. And I think right now they don't have the best role models, and they're hearing the wrong things. They're seeing the wrong things, you know? I've had boys just say to me like, well, this is me. What does that even mean? This is me. This is like, not really. This could be you. This someone greater, someone different. And, you know, just speaking more, you know, reaching out more to people, making sure that my own experiences, and I'm grateful that I am full, you know, Black, African, everything, you know, because I think we need us, you know, we need us to speak. I think we've had too much indoctrination of what we can't do. And it's now time to speak about what we are doing, not what we can do. We're doing it already.
Yep.
We're in places already, you know? What's all this? Oh, we want to do, we're doing. But the problem is these people aren't speaking, or their voices aren't being showcased by the media, by whoever. So I'm just grateful to speak, and I'm really doubtful that I'm going to stop or slow down anytime soon. So let's see what happens.
Fantastic. I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much. And
it's a pleasure.
Yeah, and I will, you know, just as a quick side note to all of you people who are speaking up and are finding your voices, don't forget to self-care as well. It can get really hard to think, I'm up against it and I'm standing as a pillar, as an example, in this wave of nonsense and racial comments and Black people telling me I'm not Black and all this stuff. Don't forget to also, you know, meditate or, you know, pray or whatever you do, whatever you know, light some candles and some incense and take a break from social media, stay with your friends, go on dates, you know, take a bubble bath, take care of yourself. Don't run yourself ragged thinking I'm a martyr and I have to save the world, because we all need breaks and we all need to take care of ourselves first. You know what I mean? You clean up first, and then we continue to take care of the rest of it. So you're amazing. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, I am. if it's okay, where can people find, what's the name of your Instagram handle? It's Different Voices X, I think.
Yeah, so it's just Different Voice X.
Different Voice.
Different Voice X.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's where I am. That's where my home is now. That's where I'm free. I started off talking on my personal page and I thought, nah, I need freedom.
Right.
I want to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful too. Make sure everybody, wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano, on TikTok at Conservatish, and share this around. Share Black voices. Hello. Yeah, I appreciate you again, Ada. Ada. I said
Yeah, not
all right, I'll just delete the episode. Well. I'm sorry. No.
Start again.
I know, right? You rock. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.